I saw something. No one's gonna believe me.
There's a history of stuff like this happening in Derry. We need to figure out what it actually is.
Is it gonna happen again?
I don't know.
And what do you think you did to her?
Are they really gonna try and pin this on you?
Everything will be okay. You hear me?
They did something to me. Went into my mind.
We will keep this thing in its cage.
Major Hanlon, I've been looking for someone like you for a long time. What exactly are we looking for? Something that was buried in Derry a long time ago.
Hallorann, start.
This thing I got, let me see things. What kind of things? Dead ones.
Oh, you know what they say about Derry, do you? No one who dies here ever really dies.
What's the matter? Seeing things?
From the studios of Indie Radio, this is your gateway to the gutters of fear. Talking it. Welcome to Derry. Hosted by Kinte and Jen, we're diving into HBO's new event series, It. Welcome to Derry, the chilling prequel that uncovers how terror first took hold in Maine's most cursed town. Each episode, your hosts dissect the story, spotlight the characters, and connect the clues linking the show to its source. Stephen King's landmark novel, It, and the modern film adaptations that brought Pennywise to a new generation. Expect lore deep dives, Easter eggs, wild theories, and the fiends that float beneath the surface. Keep the lights low, watch the storm drains, and listen closely. And now, here is your program, Talking It. Welcome to Derry, with your hosts Kinte and Jen, on Indie Radio.
Welcome back. First, I just have to say, what an episode for a Halloween night. That was phenomenal. Secondly, I'm really excited to talk about how we're advancing the stories fairly quickly, I would say. And I have a lot of thoughts about what is going on. Before I even introduce Kinte, which I already did, I will say that I think that this is a tonic for Stephen King fans. If you like Stephen King, this is definitely written for you. So without further ado, let me introduce my co-host, my host, my partner in crime, Kinte.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome, Kinte. I just noticed that your moniker is, yeah, you should probably, that's terrible. You're not so wise. You're absolutely wise. I think you're wiser than me in almost every way that is possible. So
that's very sweet of you saying that. I appreciate it.
All right. So first, just without any preamble or anything, I have to dive in here and say last night's episode, which I think we talked about this off air. You're right. It feels like part two of part one was maybe the finishing connections that we needed to get things set up. And now I feel like we have things set up. And I'll tell you why it feels like we have things set up by jumping to the very end and just saying having the asylum now in play feels very important. And of course, we've seen the asylum before in the It movies, in It Part 2, the movie. We saw people actually go into the asylum and also come out of the asylum. So I think you were 100% right. It really does feel like part two. So give me your what were your hot fresh takes on last night's episode, and then we'll talk about some specifics.
Yeah, I guess it's Derry's Arkham Asylum in a way.
Derry's Arkham.
Hot takes. Overall, I thought the episode was very good. I was very interested in the African American characters on the show, and they definitely didn't disappoint. As we talked about, off air, and we'll talk about it a little bit on air. Look, there's no way you can get around dealing with the racial aspects of what Black people went through in the 60s, for sure. I mean, even today, but definitely in the 60s. Sometimes as an African American person, I prefer to have characters that are just a part of the story, and their race is not significantly the big thing about them. Now I guess it would be not right to not touch on it at all. But I feel like when you do that, you make the character into, as I said, to you, an other. And that's one thing that I'm always worried about when they do that. But with that said, I quite enjoyed the episode. I thought it was very good. And I thought that the actors did a good job. It was terrifying. They had some really nightmarish visuals.
Very.
And yeah, it's so much to unpack. And the scene where people are gonna beat me up with this, the young lady whose father's a projectionist. What's her name? The character? Do you remember?
Yeah, she is not Caroline. Yeah, is it Caroline?
We're gonna get murdered for this. But
I am not looking at the cast list.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cast list and I don't see a Caroline on the cast list.
Oh, so I'm wrong.
So, but
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll do you guys one better. This young lady, she is the scene where she's banging on the door and the mom answers, and and she yells at old girl about not sticking up for her father. That scene was really good, and it was very very heartbreaking. Yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed the episode. Did we lose Jenny Wise? Okay, Jenny, if you're talking.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say we can't hear you, but yeah, no, I thought it was really good.
Okay, so with that, let's talk a little bit first about the intro, because the intro was something that we didn't see the last time. We didn't see it in the pilot, and the intro basically references just about every one of the major events that Pennywise is attached to, and also some super interesting I don't visuals, I guess, to places that we've only just heard about. And basically all the horror stuff is well contained within these idyllic images that look like Norman Rockwell postcards practically. And then you kind of pan out and you see all of the just nice idyllic things in the words Derry. So there's the symbolism underneath that obviously is, there's a lot more than what you see in Derry. When you see nice things happening, behind them are usually horrific things, which I thought was really good. Like somebody really put a lot of thought into that. I loved it. So, and also, I also think that just from the vantage point of seeing that as the opening, it really sets up a lot. So what did you think about the opening? Did you like it?
Yes, I did like it. I was wondering if we were going to get an opening because most pilots they don't have the opening, and then you get it later on, and so I was wondering if they were going to even do that in the show, and they definitely did, and I thought it was good. I thought it was very well done. Like you said, the Norman Rockwell painting aesthetic to it fits perfectly for what they're going for, and yeah, I thought it was excellent.
I loved seeing the Niebolt house, the house on Niebolt Street. I loved seeing that house all restored back, and the way it is supposed to look, not the scary abandoned house look, but the house, like, hey, this used to be a gorgeous house. And all the sunflowers in front, man, that was so perfect. The only reason that we know that this is even going to be a little bit scary is because the tree that is growing beside it, clearly there's something going on there. Like, it was just such an excellent image. I really, really, really liked it. Okay, the one thing that actually sort of scares me, I think, more than anything realistically should, was actually the giant mushroom cloud. The imagery there just it absolutely freezes me in my tracks every single time. So
that's funny. As soon as you said that, it's on the screen. Like we planned it.
that really did scare me. And the whole that's the gang. That's the Bradley gang. That was, and a lot of these things are all part of like the ironworks. When the ironworks place exploded, that was a big one. And we know that all of these events all had ripple effects out into the community. So all of these created fear factors, if you will, that Pennywise could then use, which I thought was pretty great. So
you want to just as a side note, yeah. I was watching this video on YouTube, and it was about the disaster that Stephen King did when he made this movie called Maximum Overdrive.
Oh yeah.
Which it was about the whole experience and how he was coked out of his mind and always drunk, and they were saying that while he was directing Maximum Overdrive, he was also writing it at the same time.
No.
So he was doing double duty.
Oh my God. No wonder this thing feels like somebody's acid trip.
Yeah.
Ooh, that explains a lot.
And you know what? I know this is not the Maximum Overdrive podcast. I always liked that movie, though. I know a lot of people hate it. I mean, it's a silly movie, but I always enjoyed that movie. So, it's definitely not on no one's top 10, but I enjoyed it.
The Stephen King universe is, and I guess it's taken me a long time to embrace the idea that there is a Stephen King universe, because nothing ever feels really connected. But I saw an actual chart that some extremely smart person put together, way above my pay grade, that said, here's how all of Stephen King's novels are connected, either by character or location or overarching event. And to be honest, it was daunting. Like, it is clear that every time Stephen King sits down to write a novel, he purposefully ties some things together. And maybe they are not tied together in solid narrative, but they're tied together in such a way that it does create this universe thread. And it's pretty easy to walk in with a fertile imagination and then walk out from that feeling like this is somehow all connected. And especially with the Derry piece, like this absolutely feels like it is super intentional. So as I said in the last podcast, I'm glad that we've got a fresh take on what the prequel to it could look like. Similarly, I'm glad that we're not one-shotting this as a movie. Yeah, there you go. That's the one. I mean, it's pretty amazing. There's some serious twisty-turny connections in here that feel very purposefully threaded together. I like them. I like them a lot. Now, in this episode, we actually had a lot of callbacks to the original It movies, the first two movies. In fact, one of the things that I loved was we saw the pharmacist, super young, hanging out by the pharmacy, smoking a cigarette when Mrs. Hanlon walks by. That's the same pharmacist that was in, well, actually both of the It movies, specifically the one that talks to Bev while the guys are off stealing, pharmaceutical trauma sutures and stuff for Ben. So that was great. I mean, that was a really good call out. And this whole episode was kind of full of those, which I did really like. They also mentioned the antique store, which is the place that they see the what was it? What did he call his bike? The silver glider. See, now I'm going to sound like now I really am going to. Oh, no, it wasn't silver glider. It was just silver. But he saw, basically, Bill sees his bike in that same exact antique store window in It. So the antique store has been around. I made the joke while we were watching it. I wonder if there's a demon in the background selling stuff, because then that would fit in with Needful Things. But anyway, okay. So the name of the store, I know what it was called. The name of the store is called Secondhand Rose. That was the name of the antique store. Okay. I want to circle back to something real quick, because I do want to talk about the military thing first. I want to get that out of the way, because I want to reference something that we were talking about before we get into where the kids are at. So the part about racism being this incredible overarching sense of dread and fear. I mentioned to you off air that I think that we overuse this trope, and specifically I think white writers overuse the trope not in a way to take back power for a different culture, but they overuse it thinking that it is the scariest thing that they can come up with for people of color. Now, in some ways, I feel like we got a little bit of a mute to that, because the colonel on base basically says, you know what, we're in the North. This is Derry, Maine. We're not in the South. And I feel like that was a pretty good indication that, hey, you know what, we're really not used to that kind of, this isn't really the way that it's supposed to be. Even if there's a little pocket of racism, look, this isn't the way that we don't handle things that way. And yet they clearly are writing it in that these people are like you said, they are the others. So that definitely exists. Now, having said that, and having said that, I think that they overuse the trope. It's going to be a part of this series. We're going to have to kind of, have our little moments with it. So it's going to be definitely a part of it. But just as a writer and in an aside, we can do better, guys. We can do better. Okay. So let's first talk about our family that has made the trip from Shreveport. And in the days post True Blood, I probably wouldn't even wouldn't have even really known about Shreveport. That is the Deep South. So there was definitely some stuff going on, but his family shows up. And when his family shows up, one of the things that I think was really awesome is he kind of has this, I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it. He definitely, the whole family has this, we've been through this before. We've moved, not a wariness, but just yeah, we end up having to move a lot. And if you're a military family, you know that that's just sort of the state of play. You have to get used to that. I wanted to sort of get your idea, though. What did you first think about the family when you met them at first? Because my first impression of this family is super different from what I experienced throughout the episode and ended up walking away with at the end.
When I first, I don't know, I felt like him and his wife had a weird vibe in the
From the
very
beginning?
beginning, before we even knew anything about it. And then but I guess it's based on the experiences that they've had in the past. And the son, the thing that I found very interesting was that he didn't know how to relate really to his son, who's like a brainiac, because there was the thing about he got him the telescope, right?
Right.
And so
And then we
was
found
so
out that
happy.
that was actually the suggestion of his wife.
Right. Which, and then he made the comment that if my dad got me a mitt, I would have gave a kidney for, I believe was the line.
Yep.
And so he's trying to learn how to relate to his son, because he's nothing like him. But I don't think he hasn't had to live like he did. So they have a much different background. So
Right.
yeah. But no, I liked it.
And I okay, so there's that piece, and we'll come back to them in a second. And then there is the and once again, this is sort of where things become just ambiguous enough for us to be intrigued, but not really have a ton of information. We have his dad telling him things like using the telescope for anything other than staring at celestial bodies like gas on Jupiter and whatever. There was some weird implication there. Did you catch that?
No. He said that to him?
Yeah, he said something really weird about, and gosh, you know what? Now I can't remember exactly what it was, but he said something really weird to him about the uses of a telescope, and like looking into other people's houses, and it was just said with this sort of affect.
Oh yeah, but then he said,
right?
then he was like, oh, that was just a joke.
Yeah,
It
right?
was kind of weird. I think honestly, I thought he was just making a bad joke.
Okay, so you want to know what I think?
Mhm.
I think that was supposed to be our introduction to him and the no fear thing. That basically, like, there is something not wrong, but off about his filter. He doesn't see things the same way that everybody else does. And a lot of us, if you are socially awkward or have something strange about your filter, you'll try to cover it with a joke. I'm speaking from experience. Whenever I feel super awkward about not doing so, creating a social faux pas, I absolutely resort to humor afterwards and go, haha, wasn't that funny? When actually that was not a joke. It was just me not being able to read the room. And that's exactly what I thought happened here. Do you think I'm wrong?
No, I think you're right.
Because then when he walks in, and again, skipping around a little bit, but when he walks into the office, into his superior's office to basically report what he knows, that, hey, you know what, I know, and we'll get into this in a second, but I know that what you said happened didn't really happen with the guy that tried to attack me. I had that same feeling. Like, that was either super brave or really dumb. Like, it was hard for me to even understand why he did that, especially somebody who, look, Leroy might be, I don't know. I'm trying to like come up with really good words.
Do you want to? I actually have that clip. I can play it. I'll play the audio from it. All right.
Major,
can you hear?
Have a seat.
Yeah.
It won't be necessary, sir. I just thought you should know you have an innocent man locked in the stockade. He's a racist asshole, but he's innocent.
Bastard signed a confession.
Yeah, well, he lied, sir.
He told you that.
So many words. I'm going to file a report with OSI to request a further investigation.
I see. Will that be all, Major?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Major Hanlon. Why don't you have that seat now?
Okay.
So great. And the reason, of course, that Leroy knows that the masked guys were not who they said they were is because he walks into the jail cell. And that's another thing. I mean, he just walks into that jail cell like he owns it. And again, we're going to go back to what we discover about him. But he tells him to field strip this gun, right? Or put this gun back together. And he can't do it. Why can't he do it? Because it's not a standard issue gun. It's a very specialized gun. And that is the gun that he saw. I think it was Korean, that he saw, that he took special note of, and then realized this guy did not put that together. There's no way that he's strong enough to do that. That was crazy. Like, first of all, his gift and powers of observation, absolutely amazing. But the big thing for me was the amount of, again, I attributed this to bravery. Like, oh my God, this guy is so brave. Then we find out through that very same scene that we just heard the clip of, he's not exactly brave. He's just absent fear, which I suspect we will discover there is a differentiation. There's a difference between being brave and being absent fear. And I think it's going to come into play with the kids. I think the kids are brave. He's just absent fear. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. I have a nephew. His name won't be, I will not say, but I believe he's very similar.
Absent fear or super
absent
brave?
fear.
Absent
fear for sure. In situations you'd be like, you should be afraid.
Up until my son was, I don't know, maybe 10 or so, he had a really similar situation. He would put himself in, I mean, when I say mortal peril, I mean mortal peril. Like, he would walk into the water at the beach over his head with waves slamming every other person onto the shore. And he'd just be like, yeah, okay. I mean, and then you'd say, what if you get hurt? And he'd go, okay, well, then I get hurt. But it was like so weird. That's exactly the same vibe that I got from Leroy. Like, yeah, okay, if I get hurt, I get hurt, but I'm not afraid of it. Which is sort of the way that, like,
you're not afraid of it?
yeah. No, I actually am afraid of it. I would not want anything even close to Pennywise around me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's also talk a little bit about what we talked about last week.
Wait,
on the
you
podcast.
wouldn't date a clown?
No, I've dated enough clowns in my life. Thank you very much.
I told a friend of mine, I said, what's great about all your exes being clowns is they can all fit in one car.
That was funny.
But
okay, so I know it was the Bradley gang. All right, it's the Bradley gang that we found. Okay, so hold on, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Let's talk about the dig. Okay, we've got some people that are doing some highly specialized work. In fact, one of our group of people who are of color who get together and have drinks and whatever, we find out that he's got some special privileges, some special status, right? We discover that when he tries to get back on the base. He's working on some top secret project, and the discovery of what that project is sort of comes to light at toward the end of the episode, where we get a car that they dig up. And inside of the car are a number of skeletons, right? And we can guess, based on the car and the number of skeletons inside, that that's the Bradley gang, right? And if that's true, why are they uncovering that? What is the significance of that? But I think what you and I discussed on the last podcast is actually coming to fruition. The military recognizes that something that feeds on fear is there, and they either want it as a weapon, maybe to thwart what they think might be to come, which maybe the mushroom clouds are a sign of, like to use in the Cold War, or they think that they can harness that in some other way. I don't know what way, but that's what it feels like to me. What did you think?
Where are you getting the Bradley gang from?
Okay, so Derry's story has the story of the Bradley gang.
Mm-hmm. Is this from the book?
Well, yes, but no. It's also from the movies.
I saw the movies both once, and it was a while ago. So you got to.
Okay, so
you know what I should have did, because after I watched episode 2, it chapter 1 popped up.
Oh,
and
yeah, you should definitely go back.
And I watched up until Georgie gets it, and then I probably should have. You know what I might do before we do our next episode is rewatch 1 and 2 again, because I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it.
So the Bradley gangs, the Bradley gang led this thing called the Bradley Massacre. Okay, it was 2 brothers, George and Al, I think, and they robbed and they killed the owners of stores in Derry, and basically they had a shootout at the well house that was connected to the sewer. And this piece is important because there was a clown at the shootout. People saw the clown at the shootout. So what was happening with that? And that, I think, is sort of like what they're trying to delve into. They're trying to get into what happened there, because it was a pivotal event. It was kind of like when the ironworks blew up. It had that same pivotal moment. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
So them uncovering this obviously has some kind of tie-in, which I don't.
Was that in chapter 1 or 2?
I think it was. Oh boy, you know what? I don't know. I want to say that it was 1, because I think it was when Ben was researching stuff in the library. He was researching all the past stuff that happened to Derry.
Oh, okay.
So I'm pretty sure it would be 1, but I don't know. In chapter 2, they did so many flashbacks that honestly, the 2 of those things meld together in my mind, because it's not like the second chapter was just the adults. It was the adults, and they had all of the flashbacks going on.
Yeah, part 1 was way better.
Yeah, well, part 1 is where we get a lot of the backstory and information. So,
I feel like part 1 is the best part of the book. When they were kids, more so than the adult part. I'm not to say the adult part was bad or anything. It was just I felt like the kid story is better.
Yeah, and honestly, I definitely want to get to the kids in our story here.
It probably should have been 2 books, because that book is long as heck.
It is.
He should have probably made it or maybe not even a sequel, like part A and part B or something like that.
But as anybody who has ever read The Talisman will tell you, with or without a collaborator, Stephen King is an incredibly verbose writer. So yeah.
Oh my god! Like he'll write so much detail. It'll be like, and Johnny woke up. He rolled over. He looked up
Yeah.
at the sky. He saw the sky was a teal blue. You know, it's like, come on, can we get to it? You know what I hate? And I love Stephen King, but is like it'll be getting like near the end, right? When you're getting to the resolution, and
Right.
then he'll just take it on a tangent, and you're like, no, you've got this momentum going, just and he'll just go on, the book Doctor Sleep kind of does that, and you're just like, and The Outsider does that as well, and
Oh
it's like,
yeah.
yeah, so, but you're like, no, just go, just stay where you're at, like don't drift.
So
But
I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to talk about with Operation Precept coming soon.
great
But
name too, by the way.
yeah, that was good. But for now, we know that basically they want to harvest, or they want harvest maybe is too strong a word. They want to harness the whatever not it, the monster, but whatever that power is, that's what they want to harness, and they're looking for something called beacons, and that's I don't know exactly how the Bradley gang played into that being the beacon, but that was clearly the reference. So I'm sure we'll learn.
I know we said this in the last one, but I haven't seen any connection, but this in the Mist is so very similar. Like,
It is.
so I wonder if there is a connection somewhere that that we maybe just haven't put together, but there has to be a connection there.
It feels like it, right? It does feel like it. No,
Right now.
I'm gonna throw something else out there and see what you think about this. So, Hallorann, Dick Hallorann, remember?
Right.
He's the guy who's on the dig, who's like, I can feel it, something's coming, right? That to me feels like what's his name from The Shining. He has that telepathic sort of, I can see the past or maybe the future, and this is what I'm getting from it. And I think that's why he's specifically there. I think he's a lot like the caretaker was. So
wait,
we'll see.
Okay, I'm so sorry. It says I asked, are Stephen King's It connected to The Mist? And it says yes. While It and The Mist have distinct stories, they are connected through a larger Stephen King multiverse. Both stories feature monsters from the Todesh space, a void between dimensions that is also a prison for demons, and both stories are linked to the central conflict of the Dark Towers series.
Right.
Yeah, so okay. And it says other clues include red balloons appearing in the Mist film and a painting of the gunslinger in the opening scene, a nod to the Dark Tower series that connects both worlds. Okay, so I knew it. Sorry. That was just bothering me right there.
That actually would make, I think, a lot of sense. That really would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I wonder how far what is the town? Okay, what's the town in The Mist?
Oh, I forgot what the name of that town is.
I'm looking
because it's not Castle Rock and it's not Derry and it's
it's Maine.
His normal haunts.
It is Maine.
But it's I don't know what the name of the town is though.
And Derry is in Derry, Maine, right?
Yeah, and so is Castle Rock.
Yeah, so yeah, okay.
So we've got all of these things. We've got the beacons going. We've got they're looking for things. We've got clearly people who have some kind of maybe clairvoyance or attachment to items and objects. And we also have Hanlon, who basically experiences no fear. So the military part of this is super interesting, and we'll see where that goes. But let's talk about the real stars of the show, if you will. Let's talk about what the kids are doing. So I gotta say, one of the things that this show gets right is the experience that kids have being the quote unquote outsider, what you're willing to do to be in the group that you want to be in. We saw that with Margie and the patty cakes, and we saw how far other people go to be outside of that group, or how far the patty cakes will go to exclude those people from the group. And my guess is that is definitely going to play a big part in what is to come. But the one thing that really threw me about this episode, and tell me what you think, is this idea that belonging gives you protection, because that does absolutely feel like it is a part of the central core tenet to this narrative. Belonging in a group is what gives you everything. It gives you bravery. It gives you freedom to experience things without so much fear and things like that. So what do you think? What do you think generally about we'll just call them the kids right now, and we'll get into Hank's story in a second, but what are you thinking about where all of those stories are going? Because even Leroy's son is having his own challenges.
Yeah, one thing that's a recurring theme in most of Stephen King's books is that, right? Because I think he always felt like kind of an outsider himself. So there's a lot of stories about children who are looking from the outside, in. And in this story, you have several kids who feel like that, or who are being treated as such for different reasons, right? And so no, I think that's very good. And what it'll do is it's going to make certain characters have to band together to have, you have to have some sort of tribe, right, to survive. So that's the tribe that is forming. So you're going to see these characters kind of make their own, I don't want to say losers club, but their own club,
Right. And I think we sort of saw that happening before the other kids died, right? Because that was sort of that was forming into a group, but then they were mercilessly disrupted from forming that group by basically succumbing to Pennywise. Ronnie, the projectionist, that's Hank's daughter, she's the one that I think she took a starring role in this episode. First of all, she confronts Lily and says, look, people are coming after my dad, right? And we'll get into the bedroom scene in a second, but she tells Lily, look, people are coming after my dad, and you can say something. And remember what I was saying about bravery and how there is like a difference between being brave and acting without fear. Lily right now is acting both with fear and without bravery. Both of those things exist at the same time for her. And I mean, when you think about it, God, that character has been through so much that it's almost unfathomable. But Ronnie, who similarly has been through a lot and experienced viscerally a lot of the same stuff, she's holding it together a lot more. And I think there's a number of different reasons for that. Ronnie, despite the fact that her grandmother is overbearing and, maybe not all that great, still has her plus her dad. And those two things together kind of keep her sanity. That's what it feels like. But Lily is dealing with a suspicious mother who, at the end of this episode, commits her daughter once again to the asylum. Like, that's crazy. To me, that's crazy. I don't know exactly what I would say if my kid said the pickle jars exploded and my dad was in them. Yeah, I'd have some serious thoughts about what is mentally going on with my kids. I don't know if my first thought would be to commit them to the asylum. I don't know. But apparently Lily has been there before. So that her fear is definitely of the asylum. But tell me what you thought about Ronnie in particular. and what she's going through right now, especially with her dad.
Well, one thing that I really appreciated was that how hard she's fighting for her dad, right?
Yeah.
That I love that. I love to see that she loves her father. And one thing is she knows her father didn't do anything, as well as the other girl knows too. And that the idea that her father, through no fault of his own, could be potentially the person that swings for this is is gut wrenching, and
Yeah.
the scene where they come and get him was just, was all was very heartbreaking.
I this sort of, I think it speaks to a larger, and I'm skipping back and forth a little bit, but it speaks to a larger issue that we're already seeing in Derry, which I actually really love, because I feel like this is 100% organic to the It novel, and that is that Derry also warps the adults in the town, and it changes them. In fact, we saw a great example of that, now that I'm thinking of it, when Charlotte is looking out from the butcher shop and she sees the bullies, the kids, beating up some kid in the street, and the butcher just goes, oh, boys will be boys. Like, they were beating that kid to within an inch of his life practically. And Charlotte is, because she hasn't lived in Derry for very long, she's able to see the violence and the brutality of it in a way that none of the other adults in Derry see it, because Derry does something to there. That's a great example. There's two adults walking right past a group of kids wailing on another kid. I mean, if that were the scene today, I mean, not just today, but in any other normal, somebody would have intervened. Somebody would have said, hey, stop that. It was interesting. What did you think about that?
Yeah, hopefully they would. You never know about even today that some people, they don't always do. But I hear what you're saying though. And then as a Black woman, for her to do that, she's taking a big risk as well. And
it sounds like there might be history there, right? Like there might be history about her standing up to other people.
Right. So, and they got into a kind of an argument about that later at dinner, eating their rump roast.
Which is a great cut of meat, by the way. Totally love that. Okay. So let's see. So let's make sure that we touch on the bedroom scene. I first thing I got to say is that was an amazing. It was dark. Okay, so dark always covers a multitude of sins, but that was viscerally upsetting. It was viscerally upsetting, both from the standpoint of just thinking about what a kid would be experiencing, how traumatizing that would be to Ronnie for sure, but also the fact that Pennywise was using the visage of her mom was so disturbing. I mean, absolutely disturbing. What do you think of that scene? From a production standpoint, it was just amazing, though.
Oh, I mean, it was frightening. I mean, like, first of all, she has, she probably has some sort of guilt, even though it's misplaced, about, about did she have a hand in her mother's death,
Right, because clearly her mom died during childbirth.
Right. So that's one thing in itself. But then to have to see that, and that plays on her, her one of her fears. And then they kind of open up. It was like she was in the womb too, which was, a very interesting which was a very interesting. I'm sorry, I was trying to bring up the clip at the same time. Which was very, very It's creepy.
Yeah.
And then when her stomach becomes the mouth and all of that kind of stuff, it was like gross.
The
You know?
symbolism was great, but on
Yeah.
top of that, the horror elements were insanely well done.
Yeah. I know. I loved it. I thought it was a great scene, and I loved how the father embraced his little girl. You know.
Yeah, and once again, clearly this time there wasn't anything there. Like this time, when Dad opened the door, it's not like Ronnie was still covered in guts and blood. It absolutely was all happening in her brain, because remember, we have seen this before, where, as an example, Bev saw all the blood coming up through the sink drain, and it coated the bathroom, and the dad didn't see it, but she did, and so did the other kids. So in this sense, this was all I feel like this is sort of, it's a good word for using the phrase priming the pump. It's like Pennywise is priming Ronnie's pump for maximum fear.
Yeah. No, no, that was a great scene.
That was, it was a bit crazy. I was really also glad that Ronnie and Will get together at the end, because the two of them, I think they actually have a bit more in common than they understand, both with their parents and also with their experiences. They both have this sort of pragmatic approach to life, which does feel like it might complement each other. So I like that. I thought that was
now.
good.
What do you think about these guys right here on the screen?
I don't know. Okay, so on the one hand, it feels like they could be descendants of that tribe that had the information about the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I don't know. I don't want to assign so much importance to them, because it might as well have been just this tiny little flash, because there wasn't very much to them. What did you think? What was your first impression?
Oh, clearly, at first, for a minute, I was like, were they the ones that beat up, oh my God, Hallorann? How do you pronounce his last name?
Which one? Oh,
The
Hallorann?
black guy. Hallorann. Yeah, sorry. I always
Leroy.
want to say Leroy, yeah. I had a dog named Leroy, so I was trying not to use say Leroy. Yeah, but no, yeah. We'll just say Leroy. I'll just say Leroy. But yeah. No, I was wondering at first, but I mean, I always thought that it was what it was, but I started thinking, well, maybe it was them, who did it. But no, in the end, yeah. So I would love to know. He looks like he's Native American.
Yeah, and that's why I thought that maybe it had the tie-in was, remember, it's a Native American ritual that ultimately, although it didn't work the first time, that was where the kids get their ritual to destroy Pennywise at the end.
Right.
So I don't know, because obviously, we just don't have any, like, there's plenty of information to be had in the novel, and there's plenty of information to draw from in the two movies, but there's so much speculation at this point that it's almost impossible to tie the threads together in any meaningful way, because we just don't have we don't have anything good to go on. Right. We're just, we're taking stabs in the dark, which actually is kind of fun. I kind of like that.
Well, we don't want to stab anybody.
I mean, it does fit the show. there is that. That's not such a bad thing.
When do you think we're going to actually physically see Pennywise?
Well, we did see him in the very beginning, and also I think we actually got the reference to Pennywise that in some way, shape, or form he was there in Rodney's room, because those teeth were Pennywise teeth.
Right.
So for sure. I mean, like, but we saw Pennywise in his full glory in the first episode with the little girl under the bleachers.
That's true.
And I just wanted to mention one other thing. When Lily goes in to talk to the police, The thing that really kind of drove me bananas, and it's purposeful. It's not what didn't drive me bananas because they were ignoring it. They walk past or walk through this entire wall filled with missing people, missing kids, missing people. And their number one priority is to arrest the projectionist. Like it, okay, obviously, there were the guys that were talking to him and saying, hey, if you can't do the job, we'll boot you out come election time and we'll see you later. But still, nobody's even talking about these kids. It is from the perspective of the narrative, it is absolutely infuriating that none of the adults seem to even remember these kids once they go missing. They go missing, it's a big deal for a very short time, and then it's almost like they are completely forgotten. That's wild. That's totally wild. So let's talk about the infamous pickle scene and tell me, first of all, tell me what you thought about it, and then I'll tell you what I thought about it.
The infamous pickle scene. That's so funny.
I mean, at this point, that's going to go down in history.
Yeah, I thought before the pickles, the actual pickle part, I love this part.
Poor kid.
That was funny. I loved it. At first, I was like,
do you think that any of the stuff that she was seeing was? Do you think it was similar to the way that Ronnie was experiencing things, that like this was purposeful, or do you think that this was absolutely Lily's paranoia that was coming through? Because I don't know.
I think it was her paranoia, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, the pickle scene is freaking gross, man. I thought that was like when I saw it, I was like, okay, oh wow. It's like we just knew that we knew from the first episode that pickles was gonna be a thing for her. She probably doesn't even eat pickles anymore, which oddly enough, I had bought a pastrami sandwich yesterday, and you got to have it with pickles, and I got extra pickles, but thank God they didn't look like that.
Yeah, I've never had a pickle jar look like that ever. So
no,
good thing.
No. I mean, they give you pickles, but no, I thought it was gross, and I thought it was, the one thing that, like I said, the movie's done as well as this is they give you those images that are so terrifying.
Yeah,
and they are so effective. They're very effective. So, no, I thought the scene was great. And after that, a moment, you could have put me in an asylum.
I was trying to think of why her mom, just immediately drove her to. But then I started thinking, okay, but maybe it's because Lily, not because she was just surrounded by pickles, but because Lily clearly said something about what she saw. Right? Like it wouldn't really make any sense that just because she knocked down all the pickles or whatever and was just screaming in the corner, that somehow that would drive them to, taking her out to the asylum. I think she must have said something. And I feel like maybe she said something because Ronnie said to her, something along the lines of, there's a difference between saying what you saw and saying what you didn't see. Like, it's one thing to say, you didn't see my dad there, but it's another thing to say, no, he wasn't there, because here's what really happened. And yeah, then she maybe mentions this, and all of a sudden she's...
I hate to say this for people who have to do this, but sometimes the reason why we put people in the old folks home or people in the asylum is then now we don't have to physically deal with them. You know what I mean? So part of that is it's like almost like surrender, like, well, they'll take care of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's under the guise of your trying to help them. And I think there's a little bit of that as well. Is like, it takes the pressure off of you. So, well, I'll take them to this asylum and they'll figure it out. And then now I don't have to.
Yeah, that and also, or maybe in addendum, there is also clearly some kind of weird energy with that asylum.
Mhm.
Because, and we know that Pennywise sort of has at least some peripheral understanding of it. Because, he got, what's his name out, who then went on to terrorize everybody again. So, the zombie driving the car in the second movie still cracks me up to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think about it and not laugh. I before we end things, I wanted to get one other sort of idea out there. What, or I shouldn't say what, I should say how. How do you think they are doing with making this a story that is genre wise horror, but remaining true to character setting, the reality of the characters and settings? Like, how are you feeling about how they are doing with that? Because I think I mentioned this in the first podcast. I have this overarching feeling that part of what the writers are doing is creating Derry in the similar way that they did with the movies, creating Derry as like a strange character all of its own, a character that is obviously part of the Pennywise influence, but not Pennywise necessarily. Like, the influence is a different thing than Pennywise. And that's how I felt about the beacons too. Like, well, that's odd. I'd never even heard of that before. So what are your thoughts?
That's interesting. I didn't even think about it like that. No, I think they're doing a great job. Look, it's gonna be difficult to match the original material, and definitely the films as well. And so far, so good. They're setting up the town in a very good way from that opening scene. That opening scene definitely has you strapped in, and so I think they're doing a good job. Obviously, I think we need a couple more episodes to decide how effective they're doing, but so far so good.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like that like this is they're definitely setting things up really, really well. But I'm
Oh,
also gonna go ahead.
I have a suggestion.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so a new episode doesn't come Sunday, right? Because we got it on Halloween, right?
Oh, is that true?
I
Don't.
believe so. Wait, let's make sure. Episode 3 is March. No, I'm sorry, November 9th.
So that's
Now you see it. Yeah.
so yeah, you're right. So it's not this Sunday. It's not tomorrow. It's next week. Yeah,
Right.
you're right.
So what I would suggest, if you are up for it, is I will rewatch chapter 1, and then we should review that for our horror flicks and chill, and
Yeah,
then we'll watch then we'll do chapter 2 after that,
that works
and
out really
then
well
and then
because I
yeah, so
just rewatched both movies.
so I need to rewatch it. I pass when poor Georgie. Is that where that song comes
Yeah, it's
from?
Georgie. Poor Georgie.
Is that where that song comes from? Poor Georgie.
Georgie and
Yeah.
the It Floats
He
thing
seemed like
is,
such a nice little kid too.
man.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that Pennywise.
It's all your fault, Bill. It's all your fault.
Yeah, and yeah, actually, Bill as well. That's what I was thinking too when I was watching. I was like, yeah, and actually, it's Bill himself. He said, "Bill will kill you. Bill actually will kill you." So, yeah, I was thinking about, yeah, let's do that for our horror flicks and chill show. We'll review part 1 and then 2. So I'll watch part 1 today, and then when you get time, we'll do part 1, and then I'll watch part 2 again, and then because I need to bone up on it. It's let me see, when did one came out 17, right?
Yeah. And
And
the next one came out
chapter
in
2 was like what,
2019, I think.
yeah, it was like 2 years. Yeah, so that's like 6 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. So
I don't want to start a conspiracy theory with this, like a narrative conspiracy theory, but I want you to think about something. Okay. Do you remember the name that the voice said that she was when Lily was like down the drain? Who are you? Do you remember that?
yes.
Okay. And what did the voice say? Do you
I
remember?
forgot. What is
The
it?
voice said Veronica.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, what's Ronnie's name?
Veronica.
Ronnie's name is Veronica.
Right. Yeah.
So she would already be dead. Like we might be seeing this. We might actually be seeing the past. I mean, obviously we are seeing the past, but like just within the context of the story, that Veronica might actually be Ronnie. So Ronnie might actually die.
Yeah. Did you know that Cary Fukunaga, I think that's how you pronounce his name, that he actually was one of the writers of It Chapter 1?
No, I did not know.
Wow, I did not know that. I just looked at it.
I actually, you know what? I don't even remember. I don't even remember thinking to look up who did the adaptation for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. I should have.
Yeah. It's so funny too, because after the success of It Chapter 1 and 2, then they just started trying to redo a lot of his they tried to do a lot of his it became in vogue again to do Stephen King material. I mean, it never really fully dropped off, but then they did Firestarter. They remade Firestarter, Pet Cemetery, and something else I'm blanking on. And but those didn't really do well at all. So there you go.
Okay. So one thing that I am, and I apologize because I said that completely wrong when I was talking about whether we're like looking into the past. Obviously, we're looking into the past. I meant from the perspective of our understanding of what happened in Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of It in relationship to what is happening now. So when I say Veronica, Beverly was the one who heard all the names, Patrick, and I forgot who the other one was. It wasn't Betty, I think her name was Betty, Patrick, and then the last one was Veronica. But and that was why I thought, oh, you know what, maybe Ronnie isn't going to make it out of this. But what I was thinking about the timeline of what's happening here is we might be looking at this from the narrative lens of what happened before in relationship to what's happening now. So each individual time skip that we're about to have has its own sort of retrospective to what happened prior, which would be really nice because that's what I think I'm seeing with the movies being referenced so strongly in the series. So the next series that we get when we do the time skip for 27 years will reference this series in some very strong way by basically giving us the clues that we might have needed to understand everything fully in this timeline. But we'll get more information about this timeline from going backwards in time. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So that's all I was trying to get across because I realized that I really screwed up what I said. So anyway. All right. Well, this has been an absolute joy. I am really enjoying the series. I'm really enjoying just spinning off conspiracy theories about narratives. It's so great. We do this every time we do a series. It was super fun with Outsider. It was super fun with so many of the other shows that we have done, you and I, Kinte, and this is no exception.
All right, I have a preview. We're going to be running previews for next season. So next episode. So let me play that, and then we'll say our outro.
Okay.
All right. So we'll be right back.
Hallorann's psychic abilities have been proven, but there's only so much he can do stuck on base pointing at maps, and we're running out of time. Put him in the air. Step right up.
Do you know what they do to kitty killers in Shawshank?
It won't matter what we tell them unless we can show them proof. Can you help us or not?
Step right up. Step right up.
All right.
Very
Sounds
spooky.
interesting. Shawshank reference.
I do. I love the Shawshank reference. Oddly, it kind of gives me a little bit of hope. So maybe he'll start the tunnel. And
Well, I didn't show it because I don't want to get dinged.
going through the sewers is becoming clearly a Stephen King phobia, because now we have a couple of different places where, people definitely don't do well in the sewers in Stephen King stories.
Who knows? Maybe Rita Hayworth might make an appearance.
That would be fun. All right, so Kinte, tell us how we can get you on social media, and tell us all the great things that are coming up for Indie Radio.
You can get me at Kinte Ferguson on Instagram, and we have a bunch of really great programs coming up. Actually, we have now an outro for the show that will basically talk about all of that. So once we say goodbye, the outro will play, and then it'll get everybody up to date on the things they can check out. It'll play after every episode.
Awesome. I'm excited for some of our upcoming movies, especially. I'm really excited to do Weapons. That's going to be a great one.
I can't wait to.
An awesome one.
I'm going to rewatch that as well, even though it's pretty fresh, but any excuse to watch that again.
That was really good. Can't wait to talk about the symbolism in that movie.
Yes.
I am sort of flipping around on and off the internet, so no specific way to get a hold of me, but I'm always somehow firmly attached to Kinte's side in some way or another. So, reach out to him if you want to reach out to me. All right. So we will see you next week on It. Welcome to Derry.
Peace.
You've been listening to an indie radio program. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. Don't stop here. Dive into the rest of our lineup. Queue up horror flicks and chill for spoiler-smart reviews and watch-along fun. Join Talking at Welcome to Derry as we unpack the HBO series Welcome to Derry. Voyage with Talking Alien Earth for deep dive breakdowns of FX's Alien Earth. Sample pilot season, where we review the very first episodes of new and classic drama and comedy TV shows. And step into the Spotlight Music Edition, where artists and industry insiders reveal the stories behind the sound. Make sure to follow the show and the Indie Radio Network on your favorite podcast app. Tap subscribe, rate us, and drop a quick review. It helps more listeners find the indie voices you love. Got a friend who'd vibe with today's episode? Share it with them and bring them into the conversation. Want more? Keep an ear out for bonus segments, special drops, and announcements rolling out all season long. For updates, episode guides, and extras, check your show notes. Everything you need is right there. Thanks again for listening to Indie Radio. Radio, the indie way.